here in the Lehi City Hall in our council chambers. All council members are accounted for tonight. Council Member Newell, Council Member Harrison, Council Member Freeman, Council Member Stallings, and Council Member Lockhart. We welcome all guests, and we also welcome all staff who are here with us this evening. To start, we will stand, and I've asked Council Member Lockhart to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Lockhart. First item tonight is presentations reports. I don't believe we have any, so we're good there. So we're going to open it up. We're going to go first to our citizens' comments. Let me give you kind of the rules of the land here. We welcome you all if you'd like to come and make comment. If you see that you have an item that's on our agenda tonight, there are some items that we will reopen it for public comment. So we'd ask that you would keep those comments to the items on the agenda as we go. However, we'd love to hear from you, so we'll open it for public comment. When you come, we'd ask that you'd state your name, your whole name. You'll have 3 minutes to share what's on your mind, and so we'll start public comment.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, thank you for this public comment time. My name is Chris Rollins. I've been a homeowner in Lehi for over 11 years. During the last City Council work session, there was a discussion regarding the 700 South bike lanes, and I would like to add my voice as a Lehi homeowner to this discussion. I love the protected bike lanes, called a cycle track on the Master Transportation Plan. Me and my family use them every week. I use them to commute to work, and my family uses the bike lane on 500 West to commute to church on Sunday. Not commute, to bike to church on Sunday. In my experience, the cycle track or protected bike lane has a number of important advantages for all riders and joggers and others, but especially for biking with younger riders and as families. On more common bike lanes where there are parked cars, then the bike lane, then moving traffic, people on bikes are riding between fast-moving traffic on one side and coming up behind parked cars who aren't looking for you on the other. At every moment, there's the risk of moving cars swerving or taking up your bike lane space, or drivers in parked cars opening their doors into you. On the other hand, the cycle track or protected bike lane uses cars that are parked on city streets to create a physical barrier between moving cars and children on bicycles. Having biked individually and with my wife and children quite a bit all over Lehi on both kinds of streets and all types of bike lanes, it is clear to me that this design is much safer and does promote active transportation and the advantages that come with that. Of course, that does not mean that there aren't still places where there is risk, including at intersections. And yes, cars and bikers, all users, need to learn and follow traffic laws. But that applies to all bike infrastructure and road design. I don't see how putting young riders closer to moving traffic would make them safer. I understand that some residents really don't like them, and I can support exploring solutions to address concerns. Curbing instead of the white poles, maybe adjust the width of the lanes, better signage at intersections, or going to a split track where there are single direction lanes on either side of the road. But I strongly encourage and request that you keep them as a cycle track or protected bike lanes, with a physical barrier between moving traffic and children on bicycles, as has been on the City Master Transportation Plan for over 10 years. I was watching the meeting earlier with the Y2K survey results in the vein of quality of life and all of that. I'd like to say that the bike lanes, these bike lanes, and some of the other improvements that were made with the money that was originally designated for these bike lanes are some of the best and most direct ways that the city has improved the quality of life for me and my family since we've lived here. And I asked my wife if that was hyperbolic, and she said absolutely not. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins.
Hello, my name is Lynette McKenna. I am a representative of the Ruth and Nathan Hale Theater that is in Pleasant Grove. and just wanted to take this opportunity to make the citizens aware, the community aware of Lehi, that the Ruth is highlighting Lehi City this upcoming week, February 2nd through February 7th. Tickets are available for the 2 shows that are playing. Forever Plaid, such a wonderful performance. If you have not had the opportunity to see that show, it is fabulous and so entertaining. And then also Fiddler on the Roof is playing. So either one of those shows, any citizens of the Lehi community can get discount tickets for any show between the 2nd and the 7th. Reservations can be made online at theruth.org, or can call the theater, and you can so there is a coupon code that you would enter in, Lehi 5. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
I'm going to set a timer for myself. Also, I recently went to the Ruth Christmas Carol. It's fantastic.
What was your name?
My name's Hunter Page.
Thank you.
Yep, Hunter Page. I've lived here for about 4 years. Live also near North Lake Park. Biked here tonight. My favorite part was going down Center Street in the nice big bike lane. For me, perfect. Made sure I set my timer. So for me, the sign of a civilized society is not that people are forced to use public transportation, but that they choose to. And I understand that we're in a car-centric world. I love cars. I love off-roading. So I also bike to church every Sunday with my family. My little 1-year-old, we hop in the cargo bike and head to church. Additionally, I bike to the train and from the train. Spending time on the train, I talk to a lot of people and ask them. They'll sit down, we'll talk about bikes, and they'll say, oh, I love biking. The reason I don't is because it's so dangerous. And ultimately, what I think we come to is that being in a car-centric society, and again, I love cars, is that we will constantly be making accommodations for them to make things easier for them. But ultimately, there's a lot of studies showing that we're at capacity for efficiency for vehicles. At this point, commuting times are only growing. And so I think the best way to alleviate that traffic is to make cycling easier. In fact, my biggest issue with the bike lanes on 700 as well as on Center Street is just that they're not more expansive. Probably get some eye rolls on that. But again, I appreciate your time. Similarly, as Chris said 2 speakers ago, first time I biked down Center Street and on 700, when I first saw it, my jaw dropped. It was just a magical experience. And not that I want to compare ourselves to any European cities or any other cities. If you've ever been to Copenhagen and you saw the mothers biking their little kids to school on these big old bikes, it's a magical experience. And I get to taste that every Sunday as I bike my little kid to school and plan to do so. And hopefully they stay in a safe way. And as they become more expansive and we keep investing in cycling infrastructure, more people will use them and less people will be driving. It will be better for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Page.
Hello, my name is Crystal Harmon. I just wanted to talk about the 1900 thing that was talked about in the pre-meeting because I'm one of the houses that's in the Lehi part of that with the expansion. And I'm happy for the expansion to come. Obviously, we do need the commuter there. What my concern is with the 5 lanes that there is not adequate protection for our neighborhood and our children that are there for the cars that are already going really fast. Like we had a speed study done just a few months ago and like 80% of the cars were going 42 or higher in a 25. So I would ask that you guys consider what's part of the budget with expanding that, giving us something more than crosswalks where we're paying for the flags, you know, like try and help make it safer for these kids. And our fences, there was a car that was commuting just like in December, and they hit a parked trailer, and it went through the neighbor's fence, like 2 fence panels for my kids' playground. Like, we need to do something to protect these children from these commuters that are not really caring that we're neighbors here. And I just asked you to consider what we could do to make it safer for us on 1900. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon.
Good evening, Mayor Benz and council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Matt Redford. I am the founder of Blaze 360. We're a Utah-based company that is focused on improving community risk reduction and emergency preparedness. As Lehi continues to grow and our buildings are becoming more complex for our fire marshal's office, code enforcement and first responders keep accurate, up-to-date documentation on every commercial occupancy is becoming harder every year. Pre-plans, inspection photos, building documentation often live in separate applications for certain jurisdictions. They can get outdated quickly, and firefighters may not have the most current information when an incident happens. That gap costs time, and in emergencies, time is everything. My company, Blaze 360, as we create a full 360-degree documentation of any building, inside and out. So firefighters and inspectors can virtually walk a property before they ever arrive. This includes digital pre-planning, high-risk occupancy documentation, historical records of remodels, easy sharing across departments as well, where not just the fire department, building code and enforcement, emergency management, but also the police department. It's a fast and accurate way of giving Lehi a defensible, accessible digital record of every high-risk property here. This supports the fire department's mission, improves safety for citizens and first responders, and reduces liability for the city. Many agencies nationwide are moving in this direction towards more of a digital pre-planning, and Lehi has the opportunity to be a leader in this. So I ask you as a council to consider directing your city staff, fire, community development, and legal teams to evaluate Blaze 360 and how we can explore incorporating digital building documentation into Lehi's existing code or inspection standards. Thank you for your time and for everything you do for this community. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or schedule a workshop to dig a little bit deeper.
Thank you, Mr. Redford. I appreciate it.
My name is Jose Zuniga. I am a member for the Western State Union Carpenters here in Lehi. There's a small group right now joining me with me at this meeting. We just want to know that, I just want to say that we want to work with you with our city. There's a lot of companies right now that are doing business under the table, paying cash. We just want to have the opportunity to work in our city with our companies, that are union. We do have a lot of teenagers graduating from high school. They are having the apprenticeship classes. We just want you to have a work with you in a friendly way, and have a fair share to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zuniga. Any other comments? We will close the public comment. Thank you for those who shared. We'll go to item number 4, the consent agenda. Take any motions on that? Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Newell,
I'll second it.
a second from Councilmember Stallings. Any questions? So we'll take a vote. Councilmember Lockhart,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, our next item number 5, is a public hearing. So at 7, let me tell you what it is. It's the transportation impact fees. It's consideration of ordinance 03-2026, adopting an impact fee, facilities plan and impact fee analysis, and amend the impact fees for transportation. This is a public hearing, so it's at, what time it is, 7:25. We will open it for public comment for our public hearing. Okay, so if there's no comments, I will close our public hearing at 7:25 and bring it back to the council. Any questions on the impact fees or this item?
Do we have someone present on it at all, or no? Or because they presented on it at the work session, that counts?
It's up to you, Mayor. We can have a presentation, or
Do we?
feel good?
Why don't you come up and present?
Hey, good evening, Council. I'm Rachel Volek with Bone Collins Associates. I'm here with Andrew McKinnon to present on the Lehi Transportation Impact Fee. As was mentioned, I was here about 2 weeks ago to present at the work session. And this is just a condensed presentation for the benefit of the public. Just as a reminder, some changes since the previous update. The last full analysis for the impact fee on the transportation side was completed in 2015. There was a new transportation master plan drafted in 2025, and that has directly gone into the impact fee calculations. This master plan included updated future project planning and cost estimation, which is important for the impact fee as that directly correlates with it. We've also been looking at the updated growth projections, which impact the projects within the 10-year window. And there has been several previously identified projects that are now complete or nearing completion with actual costs known. This final point is important just because it helps include the changing cost of construction over time between the planning period and the actual construction period, so it allows the city to recoup that cost. Just as a reminder, the purpose of an impact fee is to help answer this question of how can we pay for the new infrastructure required to service future growth so that existing users aren't subsidizing future users, or vice versa. Specifically, the impact fee looks at 3 different classes: the existing user, the user within the 10-year window, and the user beyond the 10-year window. And this allows developers, as they come in, to pay for impacts on the existing system or any new infrastructure that's required within that 10-year window. As part of this analysis, we completed an impact fee facilities plan and an impact fee analysis. So the facilities plan identifies projects needed to accommodate growth and allocates cost of projects between existing and future users based on who specifically benefits from the project. And an impact fee analysis calculates the appropriate impact fee based on information from that facilities plan. So as was mentioned, we received projects from the master plan, the transportation master plan that was completed by Hales Engineering, and they provided us with projects that were expected within the 10-year window, and those directly went into the impact fee. And here's a summary of the impact fee analysis. Just for context, the existing impact fee for transportation is $121.79 per trip, and we're recommending that it be increased to $146.87. That's about a 20% increase. If you'll notice here in column 3, there's a schedule that provides credit for users within the 10-year window. And that's specifically looking at deficiencies within the system. There has been some growth that it was greater than was anticipated, and so there are some deficiencies currently in the Lehi transportation. And this just allocates a schedule for that. As you can't, as a 10-year user, can't both pay for infrastructure through the impact fee in addition to through taxes and things like that when they become a member of the city. And so here's a schedule that kind of schedules that out. If we're including the credit, it's only about a 10% increase in 2026, and then that increases slowly into a 20% increase in 2035. So we would recommend that the council adopt this impact fee. And then just some conclusions. Again, it's about a 10% increase in 2026, 20% increase in 2025. We would also recommend that the council update the impact fee every 2 to 3 years, just so that they can recoup as much inflationary costs as possible, as is a part of the construction process. And then just really quick, next steps is the public hearing, which is right now, adoption should the council choose to adopt. And then just a reminder that the impact fee doesn't go into effect until 90 days following the adoption. Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Any questions? No. Mr. Wood, do I need to reopen that? No, we're good. Okay.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to take a motion.
Okay, we'll see if I do this the right way.
Oh, you want to try?
We'll see.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 3-2026, adopting the impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis and amended impact fees for transportation.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Freeman. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Harrison. Any questions on the motions?
Would you also include in your motion that we should revisit this every 2 years for inflation cost increase?
Yes.
So we'll include in that motion then that we revisit this every 2 years moving forward so that we stay a little more current versus behind, correct?
Correct, yep.
Any other questions on the motion? Nope.
Second.
Second stands with Councilmember Freeman, or first with Councilmember Freeman, second with Councilmember Harrison. We'll start with Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings?
Yes.
And Councilmember Lockhart.
Yes.
So that passes. Okay, item 6, consideration of resolution 2026-04, approving an amendment with RME for the construction of the Skye Substation. So I know someone here is here presenting that. Come and tell us your name.
Brent Thomas, the Assistant Director with the Power Department. I don't really have a presentation, just this is the agreement for the construction of the Skye Substation that we have put out a formal bid. RME was the successful bidder on that, and pending approval with the City Council would like to start construction in mid-February. So,
Awesome. Any questions?
I actually had just a construction question. I noticed that on the bid, the line item for like the erection of it was the largest, and just curious because I'm new to this and new to substation contracting. Why would that be the most expensive part?
So this is one portion of the substation building process. We have already went out for to purchase the transformers, the building for the breakers and other large equipment. So this is just the portion to be able to assemble the substation. It includes the actual erecting of the steel, placing the transformer, the concrete, those type things. So this is kind of the middle section of the process.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2026-4, approving an agreement with RME for the construction of the Skye Substation.
So I have a first by Councilmember Harrison.
I second it.
We have a second from Councilmember Freeman. Any questions on that motion? Mr. Harrison, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings?
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Newell?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of resolution 2026-03, approving amendments to the ProSteel Customs Development Agreement. Petitioner is Malacus LLC. Dusty Yates, is he here? You can approach. Hello.
My name is Dusty Yates. Okay, so Lehi City Council already approved this in May, and we loved it, but my mistake, I didn't realize that my name has to be on this, so that's all I wanted to do was add my name, Malacus. And then I remember a couple things, might have been you or what, didn't like the U-Hauls in here, so I don't like U-Hauls either, took the U-Haul out, so that's no longer a part of it. And then somebody else, I have a really long 180-foot park strip. They didn't like the grass, and so I've taken that out and made it really, really beautiful park strip now. So I've done everything, and so all I need to have is exactly what has already been approved, and just add Malacus, my company name, to it. That's it.
Staff, any comments on this?
No, unless you have questions.
Are there any questions?
I just had a question. The right turn lane southbound onto Main Street from 2300, is there a current plan to have that an additional right lane, or is that set?
Do you want to answer that more?
This is at 2300 West on the northwest corner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are going to put a turn lane in there.
Okay. So that'll come into that property a little bit, correct? Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
Did you know that?
yet.
Okay.
Aren't you glad you came tonight?
Yes.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So Kim, and I remember this, it was specifically for U-Hauls, but now we're opening it up for auto sales too?
Yeah, the way it was written, it said automotive sales, including U-Haul. So really, the auto sales already encompasses U-Haul, but where he doesn't intend to do that any longer, we just took that part of it out. So it still allows the definition of automobile sales and rental includes, typical car dealerships as well as U-Haul rentals and things like that. So it's not really broadening it. It already allowed that. But the U-Haul was specifically mentioned because that was, at the time, that was the specific use that they were after. But I think it did include just automotive sales in general.
I'm sorry. I thought it was specifically for you to rent U-Hauls, but you said that wasn't part of it, or?
It was, but
originally,
it
yeah.
mentioned auto sales, including U-Haul. I'd have to. Yeah.
It was.
My previous renter had kind of a mechanic shop for trailers, and then he tried to add U-Hauls without me even knowing about it, and he kind of threw it in. So I have no intentions of U-Hauls myself.
Oh, I see. So you don't want the U-Hauls. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do U-Hauls
that
regardless.
Was the point of the development agreement originally, correct? Or
well, this the sales. They wanted to sell trailers, and now so just the sales of cars and just a simple car sales.
Okay.
And
it's
so
a commercial zone, correct?
Yeah, zone commercial.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. Thanks.
So, Mayor, if I may. So to clarify, we're doing a development agreement here because it's zoned commercial, and in our table of uses here, it looks like car sales is in heavy commercial. So we're doing the development agreement. Something I've looked at, as I've looked at other codes, other cities' codes, is that they do have the car sales in commercial. A lot of majority of cities, I would say, in Utah, they typically do have some lot restrictions, size maybe.
Yeah.
Some do. Farmington has half an acre. North Salt Lake has 2 acres. So I don't know if that's something that
here it's 1
wants
acre,
to-
and I have 1.27 acres.
Yeah,
Okay.
Councilmember Freeman, I
Yeah.
actually met with Kim this week to talk about that, and Councilmember Newell and I were going to have them start working on a draft of something like that to bring to a work session with the same intent of like having car sales back into the commercial zone.
Okay, well, opens the conversation. There we go.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, is there a limit under this agreement for how many cars can be on the lot?
No.
Okay.
No. I think that would be, we'd have to make sure they have enough area for customer parking and display.
Right.
But yeah, there is no set limit in the.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions, I'll consider a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-3, approving amendments to the ProSteel Customs Development Agreement and include all DRC comments.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Newell. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Harrison. Any questions on that motion? So we'll start with you, Councilmember Harrison.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings.
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart.
Yes, and I would like to add, I'm not a fan of development agreements, but I'd like to honor what was done by the prior council for you, and so I am voting yes today to honor that.
All right. And Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Yates.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay, item number 8. Consideration of ordinance 01-2026, approving the Cold Springs Ranch Area Plan Amendment to allow short-term rentals. The petitioner is Kenneth Glod. Is Kenneth here? Do you want to approach and kind of give us some? We've received a lot of emails about this week, so.
I'm pretty sure you did. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Kenneth Glod. I'm just going to read if you allow me to. I am a homeowner and a resident of Cold Spring Ranch, and I respectfully submit this statement in support of the proposed amendment to the area floor plan that would allow owner-occupied short-term rentals. And I ask the City Council to approve this resolution, as I believe it represents a fair, responsible, and community-focused approach to modern homeownership. Owner-occupied STRs provide homeowners with an opportunity to responsibly supplement their income while continuing to live in, care for, and invest in their homes. For many families, including mine, this additional income supports financial stability, helps offset rising costs, and allows homeowners to remain in their neighborhoods long term. When the owner is present, the home is not a transient business. It remains a primary residence anchored in accountability and personal stewardship. Contrary to concerns raised by some opponents of this amendment, owner-occupied STRs do not cause more harm to neighborhoods than long-term rentals, nor do they negatively impact on-street parking. In practice, STR guests primarily use garage spaces and driveways, such as permanent residents do. These stays are short, structured, and monitored. There is no evidence that owner-occupied STRs generate parking congestion beyond what already exists in any residential community. Additionally, platforms such as Airbnb provide a high level of accountability for both homeowners and guests. These platforms rely heavily on reviews, rating, and documented behavior. Guests are required to follow house rules, respect quiet hours, and comply with local ordinances. Homeowners, in turn, are incentivized to maintain high standards of conduct and responsiveness, as negative feedback directly impacts their ability to receive future bookings. This mutual accountability creates a strong incentive for cooperation and respectful behavior. By comparison, long-term rentals often operate with far less oversight and accountability. Often tenants in long-term arrangements are not subject to public review systems, and issues may persist for extended periods before any resolution. Long-term renters are also more likely to host visitors over longer durations, which can increase on-street parking usage without the same level of monitoring or enforcement mechanisms found in STR platforms. In closing, owner-occupied STRs strike a thoughtful balance between individual property rights and neighborhood integrity. They support homeowners' financial goals, promote accountability, and do not introduce risks often associated with non-owner-occupied rentals. I respectfully ask the City Council to consider these facts and approve the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any questions?
I'm curious, Mayor, if we could have a raise of hands of how many people are here for this item.
Sure, raise them high. So 3 of you, 4 of you.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of emails.
Yeah, Mayor, if I can. I guess this is more for staff. There, I can't remember who said it, so Kim, remind me. But Someone said this may approval. Obviously, this is an area plan across the city. It's allowed. There's state code with specific rules. The city allows it under certain rules. And you said, I think you said that it could open up a can of worms. I don't know if that was you, Kim, that said it. Just looking through Planning Commission notes. But if that was you, can you elaborate? If not, then I'll pretend I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't remember saying can of worms. But you are correct. We do allow short-term rental through most of the city. There are certain areas like Cold Spring where it might be excluded because of an area plan. An area plan can supersede. It's basically its own set of rules for that community, and they can, a lot of times they match pretty closely to what we allow in other areas. But in this case, this area plan excludes the short-term rentals. I think, we have some pretty good controls. We do require the owner occupancy, parking. You have to have parking based on how many bedrooms. We haven't ran into a lot of really big enforcement issues. We have had a few, and it was, a matter of, hey, you need to get a license, or you need to make sure you live in the unit. You can't just rent your entire house out as an Airbnb. But by and large, they seem to have operated okay in other parts of the city. So it really, to me, this just comes down to, I know the HOA has different feelings. They feel like they should retain control and not allow those for their own reasons. And I'm sure they'll probably be here to maybe speak for that. But it really just comes down to if as a city we don't have any issues of opening this area up as a city, and then they would have to decide how they're going to react as an HOA if they want to continue to, because they could try to continue to restrict those as a homeowner, but that would be a civil matter, private, not Lehi City at that point. So. Okay.
Thanks, Kim. And Mr. Glod,
yes, sir.
By your estimation, within Cold Spring Ranch, how many homeowners would be interested in doing short-term rentals?
I really don't have a clue to that question. I would say probably within 15 to 20 homeowners.
Okay, so DRC Comments recommended that HOA was notified about this, and then the Planning Commission, the president of the HOA spoke, but said they were speaking as an individual, not on behalf of the HOA. Has the HOA? Are they here? Have they made a statement about this?
We could probably do that in public comment if they're here.
Okay, all right. Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done now.
My understanding is that by permitting this in the area plan, we are not challenging the HOA's authority to dictate how their community implements that permitted, right? So the HOA could still say, like, with HOA approval or, anything like that. And so one framework that this item could be evaluated from is from, like, a local control perspective, where the city is essentially going to say, yep, go govern yourselves. And this is something that we want our citizens to do with their HOA. And I appreciate that it would be consistent with throughout the other areas of the city, and allowing the HOA and the members of the HOA to determine the rules of engagement.
A couple of questions, if I may. Kind of wondering the difference with short-term rentals and long-term rentals with the requirements, the restrictions. Are short-term rentals have higher levels of requirement when it comes to parking? If you could speak to that. And then also, when it comes to enforcement, city enforcement versus an HOA. With the city, we have limited, we don't have a housing authority. How do we enforce this? What can the city actually do to enforce compliance with that versus what an HOA is able to do?
Okay. So the parking, it is based on the size of the short-term rental, how many bedrooms they have, and there is a maximum occupancy of 10. Just because once you go beyond that, you actually start to get into different building codes where you have, more of a group occupancy versus, it leaves that realm of the single family or just a traditional family size occupancy. So with let's take a single family home, for example, we require 2 parking stalls. If you have a short-term rental, it adds a parking requirement for that short-term rental based on the number of bedrooms. So you'd have to show that, maybe you have a 3rd-car driveway that you can park your guests in that goes beyond what just the minimum requirements for the home are. When you get into ADUs and things like that, they have their own parking, and that's more of a long-term rental. And the state has actually regulated how much parking we can require on those so that we're not too restrictive. But the short-term rentals, again, from what we've seen with the ones that have been licensed, there have been a few hot spots, and it was really early on, and I think that was before we set the limit of 10, where we had some that just kind of overflowed with on-street parking and things like that. But I think, and then so as far as enforcement, as a city, it is just on a complaint basis. There's not a really easy way to go out and monitor these. In fact, the state has restricted cities that, you could go out and look on listings on Airbnb or VRBO and say, hey, there's a listing here that they don't have a license for. We can't actually use that as a way to enforce. So we have to just go based on complaints. So if we have somebody that's operating one and they don't have a license, the neighbors could complain, and we could, if there's a violation, then we'd let them know these are the rules. If you can meet those, we can license you. If not, you need to stop operating. I don't know if that answered. And then HOAs, would have a separate private remedy for enforcement. They could impose fines. They could, I'm not sure what other HOA tools they have to enforce, but that would be a separate enforcement action, separate from Lehi City.
Thank you. Mayor, I have a question for staff. So to have a short-term rental, you have to apply to the city and get a permit.
Yes.
Do you check to see if they have adequate parking, if they meet the parking requirements?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to provide a site plan and show where their guests would park.
Okay. And is there any way, you're saying that enforcement is based on complaints, so how would the neighbors or residents know if they're licensed to have a short-term rental or not? Is that...
Yeah, if they called, we could check, and, if we have the address, we could look it up and say, yes, they have a valid license. Now, even if they had a license, they might still be in violation of our rules, so there still could be enforcement action that needs to be taken. But, it would really just be a matter of when they called if they had concerns or a complaint, we could check, and then it would be just information that we could provide them.
Yeah, and I'm imagining that there wouldn't be complaints unless there was some other cars on the street that are
noise.
So thank you.
One thing to clarify for owner occupied, it could potentially be a situation where the owner is like on vacation and they're renting out their place or something like that, right? That happens with these short-term rentals. It is owned, but that owner is not actually on site the whole time. Like if it's one of those a townhome or something like that, there's not. I've seen that before. I'm just clarifying that could be a potential thing that's happening.
Yeah, I think if somebody was gonna, was on an extended travel or something, but they have to show that it's their primary residence based on, whether it's tax filing or whatever, that this is their permanent home, their driver's license, things like that show this is my permanent residence. So. Technically they could rent it out while they're not there, and it does actually require them to have somebody, a secondary point of contact, that if there's an issue and they're not in town, we have somebody else that we can call and say, hey, there's an issue here. We need to get this resolved quickly, and so they're required to provide that.
I have one question, Mr. Wood, maybe. If there is a nuisance or there is a charge or there is a problem and we're called to go take care of that, is that filed against the primary homeowner? Or is it filed against the guest?
It depends on the nature of the complaint, right? If it's an unlicensed short-term rental, that would be filed against the owner. If it's something like a noise violation or disorderly conduct, that would definitely be filed against whoever's renting the unit at that time.
Okay. So it could go both ways, actually. Okay.
One other comment. I was discussing this with another city council and mayor from another place, and they were saying that this helps increase affordability for their residents. They've seen it as a solution to help people maintain and stay in their homes because they're able to kind of have another income. So I thought that was a great point that they made about that.
So to expand on that, then does that open up potential as one of our goals that could be met through that?
Always looking for goals. Sneaky Heather. That's funny.
Yeah, I'd have to check off the top of my head. I don't think it's specifically listed as one of the options in the state code, but we could, there's those ones that say you can set a goal to generally look at policies that would encourage affordability. So
there we go.
That's probably a fair, something we should look into.
Teamwork. Let's do it.
Any other questions for the petitioner tonight? I would take a motion.
Oh, public comment? Or no, I guess it's not a public
So it's not a public comment, no.
You can open it up if you'd like.
I could, or I know there's a couple of you. Do you want to stand at the microphone, state your name, and take a minute or two? Looks like there may be just one of you. Maybe not. We'd love to hear from you if you. Give us your name.
Oh, sorry. Brianna Hicken.
Thank you.
And my husband and I bought a home in Cold Spring Ranch with the intention of offsetting our mortgage with short-term rental. And then about 6 months ago, we found out that the area plan prohibits. So we've been on this wild roller coaster of figuring out what's allowed and how can we effectuate change and allow us to continue moving forward with that. So we're here tonight looking for support to change this amendment. And I guess some of the concerns that have been brought up, when I hear 10 guests in a home, that kind of that would scare me too. So I think really understanding that what the situation is, like our personal residence, we have a 3-car garage and we've implemented another driveway. So we actually have 2 additional driveways or parking spaces for guests, and our Airbnb is a 2-bedroom, so that would fit code. So it's 1 bedroom per stall. So if you're thinking like there's going to be 10 guests in there, no, the max is 4 because you have 1 bed per bedroom. So and from there's a select few of us who are considered owner occupied, and none of us are going above even reaching that max limit. Another thing with HOA, just the point that, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Just the idea that if we change this amendment, we would be stripping the HOA from any kind of authority. I think the opposite would actually happen, because we have to consider not only the current board, but future boards may actually want that as an option to meet community needs. So if the area plan doesn't evolve with current ordinances, then you're limiting future boards from making that decision for themselves. So I would just have you guys consider the impact that you'd be making on future boards as well as this board. And I don't think I have anything else, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments to this? So we'll close the comment. Thank you. Okay, back to us.
Mr. Mayor, will you entertain a motion?
Yes,
I move that we approve the consideration of ordinance 01-2026 with approving the Cold Spring Ranch Area Plan Amendment to allow short-term rentals and include all DRC comments.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Lockhart. Any second?
I second it.
I have a second from Councilmember Freeman. Any questions or comments on the motion?
I do. Emily, you're used to this. Could you add some findings of fact? And especially, I would think two things. The affordability, it helps with affordability, which is a big challenge nowadays. And the second, it makes our code consistent with the rest of the city.
Yeah, those are great. I adopt those findings.
Also, we can just have direction to staff to somehow incorporate this as one of our goals, too.
Yep.
You're good with that motion,
yep, that
Councilman
sounds
Lockhart?
great.
Second
Councilman
that.
Freeman, you second? Any
100%.
Any other comments? We'll start with you, Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings.
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item number 9, consideration of concept plan approval for the Chew property, a 219-unit development located approximately at 600 South and 2900 West. The petitioner is Century Communities, or Mr. Braden Cooper, if he's here. And we'll welcome you to the mic.
How's it going, council members? Appreciate it being here. Worked a long time in Lehi. I think I started when Kim and I were both in our 20s, and it's a great city to work in. But I'm Tom Romney with Focus Consulting. We're a planning and consulting firm. So we're here looking at a redevelopment of the Chew property. It's 56.5 acres. I believe you guys have concept plans and have been able to see kind of what we're proposing. Just to give a little bit of background, I think we recognize that this is currently zoned environmentally sensitive area. We're wanting to get feedback from the council tonight because next month our hope is to rezone the property and go for a general plan amendment. And, I think the way we've kind of gone about this is we recognize the environmentally sensitive area that, we are dealing with wetlands, we're dealing with a floodplain, we're next to the Jordan River, but there's also some other unique parts about this property where we're close to Pioneer Crossings, we're at the border of Saratoga Springs. And so when we take a step back and look at it from a big picture planning perspective, we want to definitely take into account the current zoning that it's under, but then also just the long-term kind of what's right for this property as we look, now and into the future of Lehi City and the people that would live there, and also considering the people who already do live there. And so, under the ESA, it's currently zoned for 25 2-acre units, which I guess from a planning perspective in this location, I don't disagree that we need to take into account the environmentally sensitive area, but I don't think that filling it with 2-acre lots that seems like a lot less because of just the pure unit count, but the impact of doing something like that may be more detrimental to the environment than what I feel like we're proposing. So we are proposing 219 units, which 53 are single family and 166 townhomes. That can sound like a lot going from 25 to 219. At the same time, on an overall density standpoint, we're only at 3.8 units to the acre, which would be a low density overall in Lehi. Part of the reason we're doing this is to preserve 48% in open space. And so if we proceeded with this plan and could work with the city to keep it in Lehi and to make this plan work, that's a pretty big win to get 48% of a development that's 56 acres in open space. It ties nicely into already a piece that the city owns as open space, and then everything that was done with Jordan Willows. So Jordan Willows was also ESA. Typically surrounding this project is like 8,000 square foot lots. There's some larger lots to the east, but a lot of the lots to the north are in that, like even some down in like 6,500 to 8,000 square foot lots. And so they used a similar method in the ESA for Jordan Willows of smaller lots, preserving open space. And so we would like to do something similar. And in order, and I guess we understand that we're asking for townhomes, which we think this is a great location. Part of that is when you look at Saratoga's zoning map, and we understand that Saratoga is not your city. You don't have a say on what they're doing, but just the reality is they have property at that boundary and have planned regional commercial. And the intent here is not to support their commercial, but to just in natural planning transitions, you would have regional commercial followed by a little more dense product that transitions to your less dense product, which if you go even beyond Jordan Willows, makes sense from a standpoint to you do get to even your larger lots, and then to the east there's larger lots. Part of this development, you know, when you think of this community within the overall is, you know, you're extending your open space. There's opportunities to add trailheads. You guys have a Jordan River trailhead pretty far to the north, and then I think there's another Jordan River trailhead to the south. And so, you know, I think as part of this whole discussion tonight, that what we're hoping to get is feedback and understanding is like, can we bridge the gap to where something makes sense, and we can talk through things like, how do we improve access to the Jordan River for this community? How do we, as part of our plan, we're proposing existing trail connections to go through this property and connect to the Jordan River. I think there's opportunities to discuss just that whole open space area and what makes the most sense, and how do we make it a real amenity for the city? How do we, you know, preserve it, but then also make it very usable for this community and the other adjacent communities? So I think that's something. And then with this, even though we don't control the Saratoga piece, it would open up, it would be the start of a road that would connect to Pioneer. The Chu family or Mr. Chu has owned this property for quite some time, and he has been a part of the discussions, and I know Century has been a part of the discussions where they have secured with UDOT through that Saratoga piece an intersection on Pioneer Crossing. Pioneer Crossing has a lot of restrictions on where you can and can't put an intersection, and especially a lighted intersection. So there would be a lighted intersection that would stub a road through our property. And we don't control what Saratoga does, but it would be the start of connecting that road through to Pioneer Crossings. And I don't think that we're not opposed to go talk to that property owner and see what options there are as far as timing and what that looks like. I know a lot of the concern is going to be, well, now we're adding more units to an area, and just how do they get to Pioneer Crossings? But the intent is to actually improve the existing connection to Pioneer and that future intersection. So I just think with this project, there is a lot of give and take, and we're willing to talk with the city and work with Lehi to try to figure something out. But obviously, we're here tonight to get your feedback, get questions, and see what interest there is in what we're proposing.
Thank you. We'll open it up to the council.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I can. I guess I have the benefit of living in Jordan Willows, so I understand this area very well. Several concerns with this. I think the current proposal doesn't really fit within that neighborhood very well. Single-family homes, I don't think there's much density until you get further east on 700 South. 600 South is a very, very narrow road. We have plans to improve it down the road, no pun intended. But, you know, the infrastructure currently as it stands wouldn't be able to support this much density. I think eventually down the road we'll be able to, you know, entertain, at least in my opinion, kind of a single-family, low-density type of development. But and you brought it up with Saratoga Springs, it's very difficult to plan that area until we know what Saratoga is going to do with it. There's a couple different options as a city that we have. We have either Saratoga makes those plans known and they start to have concepts that we don't have control over, but at least we can start to plan our side of the border a little more effectively. And then, of course, there's always annexation or some sort of land swap situation that we could arrange with Saratoga Springs, but we're not there yet. So, in my personal opinion, I don't think this fits within the character of that neighborhood. The infrastructure can't really support it, and we're highly dependent on Saratoga Springs to help figure this area out.
Other comments?
Yeah, something that concerns me is that much of the proposed development is in the 100-year floodplain. And this is according to FEMA. And I would be concerned about building anything there or near there, with our residents. I just also think that if it's zoned for 25 units and asking for over 200, that's a no-go for me.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me with this is usually when we give a density, it's usually because we're maybe supporting something else that, like if we're going to increase density by that much. And the thing that's hard with this is Saratoga owns the commercial piece. So I really don't like the idea of us building the density for Saratoga Springs' commercial piece. Like if we were able to incorporate that, there was a land swap, and then there was something where we're going to do this and be able to integrate it together. But that's what I've seen pretty consistently as you look through the lines here between Lehi and Saratoga. Is Lehi builds the houses and Saratoga builds the commercial, and so I'd be really sensitive to that of building a higher density product, putting that number of units there, and Lehi not having a commercial component to this, which is what we just see consistently and hear complaints about. So I would have a hard time justifying the density because I don't see the other side of it.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I had conversations with Saratoga Springs, tried to figure out where they were at. They have zero interest. It's my understanding they have zero interest in doing any form of kind of land swap of any sort, right?
And would we, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Especially because they're really holding on to their commercial, which is understandable. I appreciate the effort in trying to do some form of a transition, though. I see the thoughtfulness there. I appreciate that. But I'm in agreement with Councilmember Harrison and Freeman that going from 25 to 219 is simply far too great.
Yeah, you said it sounds like a lot. It is a lot. So we have our general plan and we have our density planned out in the places that it makes sense, and to me this doesn't make sense. So and I honestly don't like when this happens a lot, but developers come in, they have land that they can't develop on, so hey, let's just turn it over to the city, we're giving you open space. But then that puts the burden on us to maintain it and take care of it, and to spend a lot of money on a Fragmites mower. So I don't like getting leftovers in exchange for density and then putting that cost on residents. So I don't think it fits the area, it doesn't fit the general plan. Our higher density is in the places planned for the places that it makes most sense, in my opinion. So
I'll just add, to Councilmember Lockhart, her comment, like it's right. We have Saratoga has been very resistant to this. I think in the past, obviously with the land swap, it has to be a pretty equal and fair land swap. And in the past, I don't think they've seen it that way. But personally, I think we should still, explore those options to make this land more usable. But that may take many years to do. But I personally am interested in that. So I hope, I know this is a lot of hard work, and it's land just sitting there that could be used for profit. But I think there's a few hurdles we need to get through before we can get to a concept.
I'll take a motion.
Just really quickly, Mr. Mayor, this is me coming in with just experiences of concept plans. Usually they would want some form of feedback. I guess I would just ask the applicant, is this enough feedback that you've received? Do you need any more thoughts or have any questions of us on any other pieces of your application?
Hi, Braden Cooper, Century Communities. I would just, we're here to present to gain feedback. I think that's kind of why we went through the process, what we did. I think it's most important to note that as we talk about, big development and we talk about Lehi City, there's also a third party involved, which is a landowner. And, here's a landowner that has rights as much as anyone, or as much say in this as possible. And I am speaking on behalf of him regarding the concept that's presented. Outside of that, I know that he, as well as, he wants to make sure his rights are protected, and that he has the ability to use his land and do with his land as he wishes. The reason we're presenting is we're trying to figure out how that can be done within Lehi City.
Yeah, and this is my effort to help you get there. So we've obviously given feedback on regards to the floodplain and in regards to the count of density units. Are you wanting any other pieces of feedback on this application?
I don't think, actually there is a little bit of feedback, because one thing that's not noted is that I would like to present is, or obviously bring to your attention, was brought to the attention by Commission and DRC, is the fact that this property faces challenges with utilities. There is no, we've spent the last year, I know we've mentioned the land swap several times, we've spent the last year trying to make that land swap happen. We at one point controlled the McLaughlin piece that allowed to make that happen, and we went down those lines and weren't successful at doing so. Now it's to a point where part of that land swap has to do with the fact that Lehi can't actually service this piece of property in Lehi, and Saratoga, the other piece that was supposed to be swapped, can't service the piece, or can't service that piece in Saratoga. And so it's definitely a complicated land swap when it comes, to discussing that. And I think more than anything tonight, we're just trying to present an option to be able to try to have figured that out, in the sense of having Lehi be able to handle the oversight of that. So I don't know if outside of the utility part of that, I don't know if there's any other feedback that we can get from you, other than, what are your thoughts on, land ownership and the rights of a landowner to be able to do what, he needs to do for his rights.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we would all probably have a different way of putting our opinion on property rights, but I respect the property rights that your applicant has, and so I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. If you feel like you've received the feedback you need for the concept, that's just before a motion's made. I just wanted to make sure the applicant could.
I appreciate that. And so there was some gist of maybe 219 is too many, 25 is what's currently zoned. And so I guess the feedback would be, is it the units? Is it that you don't like the idea of townhomes? And so just maybe a little more direction on and I get it, like Lehi kind of has their TODs and has decided where they want density and it is tricky with Saratoga. I don't think the intent is these people are only going to shop in Saratoga. I think, again, when you're planning your city, these people will go to Traverse Mountain. They're going to go to the different areas. They are on a major transportation corridor. So I think as a planner, that's the only thing I have a little bit of heartburn with. I totally recognize the timing, but we would have to provide the reports that support the timing of the infrastructure, and maybe there's infrastructure things that this development can help with to get that figured out. And so typically with development, the development just doesn't come tomorrow, but it takes time and reports and determining what can it currently support with a first phase, and then maybe to get a third phase, maybe they would have to get an easement and build out onto Pioneer Crossing. And so we recognize that there's a lot to figure out, but I think really the feedback is, if there was a place to put townhomes in Lehi, or this amount of units, is this the right place? And, is it, we're open to the open space conversation if Lehi doesn't want it, but typically, where most of it is native, the most of the improved open space would be in the townhome HOA community. A lot of this open space would be native and pretty easy to maintain and take care of. But at the same time, if the city didn't want that I think we would be open to kind of those discussions. But sorry, I'm kind of elongating the question of like, it's kind of vague of like, is it a unit count? Is it a product type? I think a little more feedback on kind of where we are on that gap would be helpful.
I guess, have you developed, I'm looking at your plans and it says concept D. I mean, so obviously there's other concepts you've considered. Have you considered under the current zoning, which is I think 25 units per acre, is there a concept or a plan that you have in mind for that?
So the current zoning with 25 units? So which is 0.5.
Oh, 25 units.
Yeah,
okay.
so they would all be 2-acre lots. And so you would have to, in order to viably develop something like that in this location, you would have to look at mitigating wetlands. As far as the floodplain concern, a lot of areas are developed in floodplains. They're just rules you need to follow. You, in essence, have to get your development out of the floodplain. And so it's one of those things where I just worked on a project on the east bench of Salt Lake City, and everyone was excited that it was going to be 19 lots, but now it's 19 mansions, and now all the neighbors and the mayor is complaining because what seemed like not very impactful turned out to be more impactful. So sometimes like townhomes seem really impactful, but then when you look at this full 56 acres, when half of it is going to be left untouched for the perpetuity of time, and at that point it can't ever be developed, there is some give and take. And so it's just, when we look at those concept plans, you could, in essence, develop across the whole piece 2-acre lots. I just don't, when I look at Lehi City, I don't think this is the right place for that type of a development. You could still preserve some wetlands and open space, and you could do smaller single-family lots, but I don't know that it's viable at this time for the property owner. I don't know that it would ever pencil to go to that much effort on this piece of property based on its location. And, when you consider marketability, if you were looking for a, half-acre to 2-acre lot, is this where people are, I'm not saying people wouldn't buy it here, but is this the right place as well? I know that's not necessarily, the code is what the code is, which is why we're here trying to kind of say, well, what do we think would be the best plan for all parties?
My understanding, and other people can agree or disagree with me on the council, is that what we found is home ownership is people want to have a single family home more than a townhome. That's just kind of how Lehi has seemed to, they've gone one way with apartments and some townhomes, and kind of realized that a lot of times those units end up becoming rentals and not like, when we're talking about home ownership, we're talking about meeting the governor's goals of having these homes. They don't have to be large homes, in my opinion.
Sure.
I don't know if maybe Kim can expound on the floodplain protected wetlands area, what Lehi has traditionally done. What are some mitigation, things like that that would be involved?
Yeah, so the ESA, we can't not allow any development. So our general plan and the way the zoning is set up is it's 1 unit per 5 acres. And so that's where, if you do the math with their acreage, and they do have some over on the far east side that's not in the floodplain. And so that area is very low density residential, agricultural. So if you take that unit yield and the ESA, that's where we came out with the 25 units. But so generally our policy, if you read through the general plan and our zoning code, we try to avoid development in those areas. You can fill them in. You have to go through a pretty strict process through FEMA, and you have to certify, what is the flood elevation, and then you have to show that you've put enough fill in that area to get it above that base flood elevation so that all of your homes are out of the floodplain. But, our goals are more, let's just avoid development as much as we possibly can. Now, they could take, the 25 units, or if there's some form of increase, if we feel like there's some merit, maybe the trails, and if they're going to dedicate a lot of that natural area to Lehi City, maybe there is some modest increase in density, but you could cluster those all over closer to the east, which is kind of where they have their main footprint. But I think that's where maybe the feedback is, what is our level of interest, how much additional density. It sounds like 25 is far too few units for them to make it anywhere profitable, but I think if you could cluster all of the development and just keep it as much as we can just out of those natural areas, it would reduce your infrastructure costs. It could work to cluster all of that. And Lauren and I were just looking in the Jordan Willows along that southern boundary. Some of those lots are in the 7,000 square foot range. So, but single family detached versus attached products. So maybe that, I guess that's maybe where you would want to give them some feedback. Are you willing to entertain any increase, or do you just want to keep your general plan the way it's currently outlined?
I mean, for me personally, I think it's matching the character of the neighborhoods to the north and lot size. I would be very open to that, assuming the infrastructure can meet the demand. Because again, that road, it's hard enough just getting two cars to pass each other on that road. But I do think, just backing up what Councilmember Freeman said, we've built a lot of townhomes and apartments in Lehi in the last 5 to 10 years. And what my concern is in the next 10 to 20 years, we talk about those as starter homes or attainable or affordable homes. What happens is the supply of single family homes will drop off completely, right? So there won't be any options for single family homes because they'll be like way out of price, right? There will only be townhomes and apartments that are affordable for your average income family. So I think there is a desire for more single family homes with a yard, with a garage, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a concept that increases the supply of that type of housing.
And then I just am curious, we talk a lot about incompatible uses, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that we don't end up in some situations we have in Lehi that are not ideal. Knowing that this is commercial for Saratoga Springs, I just would like you, when you think about the concept, just maybe recognizing that I'll speak for myself, but that's why I called attention to somewhat of a transition you had tried to do, because I recognize that commercial's there, but I echo the comments made where I don't think that what you've given tonight is correct. But I appreciate that you considered the transition, and I would, if there's a middle ground there, that would be my feedback to you.
Okay. That's very helpful.
I support the 25 units. I'll just leave it at that.
Good to know.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
you
go ahead. Yep.
2 things. I'm kind of flexible, but you come in here 25 to whatever, over 100, and that's not reasonable. So I can be flexible, but not much, I guess. Not that high. The other thing I do want to talk about is property rights. And I just hear that term thrown around all the time, that we should be able to use our property however we want to. We need to make a profit. Okay, you have the legal right to the legal use of your property. And it's our job as a council to make sure we use zoning to protect everybody else's property rights, right? And we have to provide you services. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, not in a city, that's not going to depend on the fire and the police and everything else that the residents will have to pay for, then you probably could do whatever you want with your property. But we're in a city, and we're obligated to provide services, so we need to make sure we'll be able to do that. And we need to make sure they have access to the roads, that they have the water, and that they have electricity and that sort of thing. We need to make sure it doesn't negatively impact the surrounding neighbors, the current residents. And I think the residents of Lehi have seen how too much growth too quickly, not well thought through, does negatively impact them. So when you talk about property rights, yes, within reason, within the legal use, which is the zoning that you're allowed, that is your legal use, is what the zoning dictates. So, and I don't believe it's our job as a city council necessarily to find a way to make it pencil. That's your job, right? And our job is just to make sure that it's workable for the rest of the residents and for the city to take care of those residents' needs. So that's my position on property rights, and I'm sure there's others that disagree with me, but I have studied it a lot because it's come up quite often. But I'm with that in mind, it's VLDRA, and I think I heard somebody say that was 2-acre lots.
Well, if you average, I'm just saying, like, so in the ESA, you're 5-acre lots. Then we have this piece that is VLDRA. And so when you combine it all, just on an overall, 25 units on the total acreage is 2-acre lots. It could be a mix of 5 acres and smaller lots. And I guess, and I totally appreciate your kind of context on property lot rights. I think one thing that just we have talked about is this property owner has provided dedication for the Jordan River. He provided dedication for the road that services Jordan Willows, that allows it to even be built. And that's not your responsibility to like pay him any favors, but he's been workable with Lehi for that area to let it grow. And so I think he's asking us to come and say, well, beyond all of that, just what is the right thing for this location? And I think when you take a big look back at Lehi and its location and what's happening in the future, and not, so the feedback is great, but I just think if you were to now today say, where should 5-acre lots go in Lehi? From a planning standpoint, I don't see it. This to me, which we can disagree, that this isn't the location for it. And we have an opportunity to, with a lot of the feedback I've gotten, we can go talk and decide where to go from here. But I think it's been helpful to get that feedback, and even your opinion on property rights is valuable. So.
Yeah. So I mean, we have a responsibility to the residents, and there's limits on all rights. So I just want to address that because I guess it's pet peeve. But that's my 2 cents.
I'll just add, I like matching the character of the neighborhood. I've been trying to look through lots, and I'm seeing like around 9,000 square foot lots over on the west side, 1/4-acre lots to the north. There's some 3rd-acre lots. So that's kind of where I would lean. I think that could potentially, 1/4-acre lots, it would fit the character of the neighborhood. It would potentially give more, considering, because when I spoke with Braden, he let me know about like things that have been dedicated, things we potentially would have given a density bonus for, things that have been done with the property, to have it match the character. And I also, do consider having buffering between commercial and the homes too. So I think there's there's flexibility, give and take there, but I think the multifamily would be a hard sell in the area. I think that the residents in that area, generally in most areas, they feel like they are willing to have homes come in that match the same character of their neighborhood that fits there. They have a harder time when there's extreme jumps in the size of lots. So that would be my feedback.
This begs the question. I don't know if I want to open this can of worms, but if maybe we need to do a general plan update. Just Emily's like, no.
How much money do you want to spend?
Mayor,
just letting it float.
as you're contemplating this question, can I ask a question of staff?
Yeah.
Speaking of general plans, so the general plan, as you noted, we organized or put our density in certain places where you thought it would make sense. So if we granted more density to this area, is that meaning we're taking density away from other areas? And is that going to, right now with the general plan, it's outlined and the property owners know where the density is. So is that going to devalue somebody else's land to help theirs? Or can you address that thought?
Yeah, it's not a requirement that if we increase in one area that we decrease. Now that's been the goal
practice,
that we've tried to keep kind of a cap, which was, goes back to 2022 when we looked at our build-out population. So we've tried to do that balancing, but it's not a requirement. You could definitely, if you wanted, you could increase the density and not decrease it anywhere else. So, like we said in our DRC comments, I think if we were going to increase density, there's a lot of other priority areas that we would recommend as staff versus putting it in a floodplain area, in an area that has, much lower density than than what this proposal was. So.
And, you know, we talked a lot about roads earlier today and the cost, and they're sorely needed. So, and I guess that's where I'm at again. We planned where the density should go in the places that make sense, hopefully by transit that hopefully will come someday, or the major roads and the freeways and such. So, yeah, so to me, it's the density in this location. To me, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. My guess, though, is in those locations, you're talking upwards of 20 units to the acre. And on this, we're 3.8 units to the acre. So from a density standpoint, it would still be considered a low-density development. And, you know,
Yeah,
these would
but
just be arguments.
you've got to look at numbers, the actual numbers as well.
No, those I know.
No, I mean,
yeah.
per acre versus.
Well, that's what it is. Well, like at that, yeah, I know what you mean. That area gets dense. But it also, I think, is going to hit a product type. I know you have townhomes. These are going to be for sale townhomes. I think it's going to hit a product type and a price point that Lehi is going to need. And it's, you know, maybe this plan doesn't have enough information to show what the architecture looks like and what the community really would be. And so if we proceed forward, you know, probably need to provide more information to show what that exactly would be.
I would also wonder how we could ensure that the green space, you know, that you have here that's not developed, that would be this green open area, how would that be able to stay? How would we have
It would be platted
perpetually.
So in the plat, that would be perpetually dedicated either to the city or to an entity or the HOA, or you can dedicate it to some federal groups that it's open space. So by developing this piece now, under a plan like this or not like this, in that scenario, it would be platted as open space that nobody could come later and redevelop that piece. So I think, you know, the reason this is like similar to a master plan or a PUD, what that community is getting is 50% open space, which is, 48%, which is not typical for any development. Jordan Willows would have given something. I'm pretty confident it wasn't 48%.
Any other comments? Does that give you enough fire to go on? Does it give you?
That's great. Appreciate it.
I'll take a motion.
Mayor, I move to deny approval for the Cho property, a 219-unit development located at approximately 600 South and 2900 West.
I second that.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Harrison and a second by Councilmember Lockhart. Any questions on that motion?
Probably just that in a denial, it's always good to add some findings and, you know, that it doesn't meet the general plan and other concerns that you have.
Yeah, I think I'll try that again.
Okay.
Move to deny approval for the Cho property, a 219 unit development located approximately 600 South and 2900 West, with findings that include the need for the proper infrastructure, consideration of the land to the south in Saratoga, and having a plan for that abutting up to the property under question. And does it meet the general plan intentions?
My second stands.
Okay. Any questions on those motions? Okay, Councilmember Freeman.
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Stallings?
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Newell?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving to number 10. Consideration of ordinance 02-2026, approving a development code amendment to chapter 20 of home occupations, adding adult daycare. I think, Kim, this is yours.
Yes, and I will just give a really brief summary of what we're trying to accomplish. So home occupations are a very limited way that you can operate businesses within neighborhoods. we currently allow child daycare as one of those uses, which is a very common, one of the more common home occupations that we see. But in the last 6 months or so, we've actually had a few requests to do a similar type of a daycare, but for adults, for whether it's elderly individuals or somebody that has a disability that needs care during the day, but they have their family or whoever, so they don't need 24-hour care. It's just during those daytime hours. So this would open that up to that additional, because right now it's very specific that it's only for children 12 and under. So this would now open it up for adults.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a comment, maybe more than a question. So looking at the draft of the code, it says any daycare home occupation shall obtain and keep valid Utah Department of Health Child Care certificate. And then it goes on and references strict compliance with a certain rule in the administrative code. I actually didn't look it up, but I'm assuming it has to do with child daycare. So I'm not opposed to this at all, but I would want to add that for adult daycare that they would have to be licensed for adult daycare with the Utah Department of Health, and then also that they would have to strictly comply with Utah Administrative Code R 501-1, which does have to do with adult daycares.
I was just wondering, I actually had a job in college for 2 years taking care of people with disabilities in a home, like a group home setting. Do we have group homes in Lehi? Do we have that type of, residential facilities? But where I worked, it was a home with 3 women in it, and we were 24/7 staff.
Yes, and that would fall under a different type of use, or that we do allow those. It's just this is if you're just doing it in your home part of the day, but it's still your full-time residence as not a group home like you're describing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm aware of I had a family member who had a business in a different city, and during the day they would care for adults with special needs in her home, and then they would leave at the end of the day, and that's where she lived. And it's my understanding that that's what this is about, not so much like the group home portion. But I think it's a great service to offer to those families who need that additional care for their relatives.
Is there, Kim, as far as licensing goes, I think Michelle kind of mentioned it with child care, but does that go along with the business license itself, or is this just, do you not need a license for this type of business?
We would require a city license, and then if there are state requirements above and beyond Lehi cities, like with the child daycare, we would want to add. Yeah, I think now I've seen where your question earlier in the day today. We'd want to make sure that we specify that they also have to meet any state licensing.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great addition.
And that was my concern, because depending who you're caring for, adult daycare can be much harder than child daycare.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with the dementia or something like that. So,
yeah.
But the Department of Health, Utah Department of Health, they have pretty strict requirements, and so I that's why I feel comfortable with that, as long as we require those things.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. I'll make the motion. I move that we approve ordinance 2-2026, approving a development code amendment to Chapter 20, home occupations, adding adult daycare, but include. I'm going to read this statement because I think this should be included. In order to obtain and maintain the validity of a Lehi City business license for any adult daycare, the applicant shall obtain and keep valid a Utah Department of Health adult daycare license and an annual fire life safety inspection, Any adult daycare home occupation shall also strictly comply with all other requirements set forth in Utah Administrative Code R 501-1, and then include the DRC comments.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Stallings, a second by Councilmember Freeman. Any comments on the motion? Okay, so we'll take a vote. Councilmember Stallings?
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Newell?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item number 11, consideration of resolution 2026-5 of the Lehi City Council urging preservations of local land use authority and opposing new statewide high density or quote by right unquote housing mandates included in House Bill 0184 and Senate Bill 0039. Our petitioner is Councilmember Harrison. I'll turn that to you, Councilman.
Yeah, I think you read the old title.
Yeah, that is because I do know that the House bill and the Senate bill both have been stricken from the resolution.
Yes. It's good. It's good. As long as someone doesn't say the motion that way. Yeah, so just some background on this. This is meant to simply state a principle that I think we can agree on. I've edited the language. I've taken feedback from my colleagues up here, and I'm happy to take any additional feedback we can include in the motion. But I think, this goes without saying, but I should say it. We're very fortunate to have capable state lawmakers. There's many that are looking out for cities' rights. There are many bills that you never hear about because, ULCT, the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and others lobby hard for the rights of cities to determine how we can design and build and take care of our residents. So these are, I'm referring to kind of the next four items because they're all related. Two of them are for Lehi City alone, and the other two are for other municipalities if they decide to sign on to this as well. So again, this is a basic principle. I had a great conversation with Cam at ULCT, and we talked through this, and he was supportive, especially removing specific references to bills, because obviously bills have names attached, and the bills do change. And even some of the bills that we're concerned about have already undergone some changes in our favor. And so I decided to take those out, and it was really good advice. And this is simply stating our principle. And I think Councilmember Newell had some great feedback on the timing of this. Obviously, we're a new council. It's hard. We've been kind of in full speed mode this month. I think going forward, maybe later this year, in the early fall, we can do something, again, just to kind of state our principles prior to the session starting to ramp up and bills starting to be drafted. We're just kind of behind the curve, just simply because we all entered into office. So happy to discuss these bills. I think the principle I'm alluding to is cities should absolutely have the ability to have local land use authority, zoning authorities, and then the other items deal more transportation, but I think we can cover that in the next item.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would feel more comfortable if we removed the part in, I think it's the third paragraph, the parentheses, more than Davis County and Weber County combined. I just don't want to poke at anybody. And so if we could just, even though I recognize it's not necessarily intended as poking at them, I would just be really, I'd feel terrible if Davis County and Weber County commissioners saw that and took offense.
I fully support that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you took the not incentive, I'm a little tired right now. But anyways, you did this, James. Good job. Initiative, there's the word. The initiative, it did this, James. I think that it really local land use authority and just keeping the decisions closest to the people is the best. And I fully support and property rights and the fact that we are different than every other city, and every other city has a unique identity, and they have the right to develop and to zone what fits them best. And to me, that's very important. I'm not going to dictate how they do it in Washington County. I'm hoping that no one dictates to us how we do it. And I think that that's, I just support that because I think that this verbalizes that very well.
I'll just echo that and just appreciate your willingness to take feedback, incorporate that feedback from here, from others that you've spoken with. I think that you got the tone right. I know that these are always kind of delicate things to do, acknowledging that our land use authority comes from the state, so that we do need to push back. This is where land use should be designated from, the ones who are closest to it. We're trying to get government closer to the people rather than to have, these one-size-fits-all solutions coming. And so I think that it's something that can encompass where all of us feel and support, but in a way that we're not trying to, do something that we're going to have any kind of ruin relationships, or being able to find ways that we can collaborate better. Because I think the more that we can explain our point of view, things that we're doing, things that we're trying to help our residents, and the reasons that we're doing the things that we're doing is good for Lehi. It's good for the state to look that way. So I think it's good that we can, put it out there, and just really appreciate your collaboration on it.
Thank you, James. I mean, you get into office and you're just going for it. I appreciate that. The energy is amazing. And I appreciate that you point out that we need a diverse supply of housing. I mean, you told the developer, we absolutely need affordable starting homes, but we're going to need other homes for people to move up into, or we're going to be in another mess. And I appreciate that especially that you pointed out that you recognize that there's a shift, that you shift the infrastructure costs to local taxpayers. I think that's so important. A lot of the tools that the legislature has given us to help with the density or whatever it is shifting costs to residents, and now they're concerned about property taxes, right? And it's like, oh, you kind of created this problem. But I do appreciate that you're bringing this forward, and I think I'm fully supportive. And I think if we pass it, it shows that us as a council that we agree on this, and we can use this resolution going forward when we're talking to other state legislatures. And it's not egregious; it's common sense, and it's what most cities have been saying all along. But I think actually taking a step to pass a resolution can start a conversation, and that it can follow up with requests for meetings to have deeper discussions about this thing. So I, again, appreciate that you took the initiative and that you're putting this forth, and I fully support it.
Let me just say a word to this. I normally don't comment on these. I will come on this because I've worked pretty hard since last Wednesday, talking to our people up at the Capitol, to former government, to the Utah League, and we've had some great collaboration. And I wish we had more residents here tonight. Lehi City is one of the first that will do this, and we do it for our residents. And the reason we do it for our residents is because we've been asked to do it, and that's a foot forward. And so as you look on a council tonight, we've been asked to go and make sure that we take care of Lehi, and this is a step in that direction, albeit difficult, and albeit all week of working through proper language and dealing with the people we deal with. But I'll tell you what, I think it's a great step forward. I think it means wonderful things in those people that I have communicated with in the last week, and I think it's a great step forward. So with that, I will take a motion.
Do it, James.
Oh, you're doing it for my own.
All right. I motion to approve resolution number 2026-05, urging preservation of local land use authority and opposing new statewide high density or by right housing mandates.
Will you include striking the
With striking the line that says more than Davis County and Weber County combined.
yeah, just that parentheses section.
Parentheses.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I can second that if James doesn't want to second. You.
Okay, so we,
I'm trying to pay respect to you and all the. Okay.
so we got a motion from Councilmember Freeman and a second from Councilmember Lockhart. Any comments on that motion? Councilmember Lockhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings.
Yes.
Okay, item 12 is virtually the same item. It's consideration of resolution 2026-06 of the participating municipalities of northern Utah County, urging preservation of local land use authority and opposing new statewide high density or by right housing mandates. This, I believe, James, is inviting our neighbors to participate in it. Any questions on any of that?
No, I don't. Again, this is about the same. I mean, it's pretty much copy and paste, except it's inviting our neighbors. I don't think that this is not new information, just, so the public knows. I've alone, and I'm sure everyone up here has had multiple conversations with senators, representatives, other municipalities about these thoughts in the last few weeks, if not months. And we're just actually formally putting a resolution together, but these are things and thoughts that we have verbalized and had a lot of conversations with with other elected officials about. So.
Other comments?
I would just ask for the same change,
Strike.
if that's acceptable. Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Harrison, any closing comments on it? I'll take a motion.
All right, I'll do this one.
Okay.
Mayor, let's see. Let me make sure I'm on the right one here. Mayor, I move to approve resolution 2026-06 of the participating municipalities of northern Utah County, urging preservation of local land use authority and opposing new statewide high density or by right housing mandates, and also removing the references to Davis and Weber County within that resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a first from Councilmember Harrison, a second from Councilmember Newell. Any comments on that?
Good job, James.
Councilmember Newell?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings?
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart?
Yes.
Item 13, consideration of resolution 2026-07 of the Lehi City Council urging additional equitable transportation funding for Utah County.
So on this one, I'm very much open to basically three options. Approve as is. I'm very happy. This is more specific around language related to numbers, and the reason why I use Davis and Weber County is not in a negative way. It's more like I'm very happy Davis and Weber got that funding. It's awesome. I have family up there, and so it's well deserved, and they absolutely need it. It's just comparing essentially the economy and the population between those two counties and Utah County, and just not decreasing funding by any stretch for Davis and Weber, but just helping Utah County reach that level. And so I'm open to making this more like the last one, that's more just purely principle. I think it takes out a lot of the kind of data that helps this resolution. Or I'm also opening to tabling it until later in the year. I think this is a much more complex issue. I know I had a conversation a few weeks ago with Councilmember Lockhart, and she brought up some very good points about federal funding and state funding and everything in between. So happy to hear your thoughts.
One thing that I should bring up, so I helped write a letter in November for MAG. It was a joint letter. It was signed by all 3 Utah County commissioners and 20 mayors about the transit and transportation and the fact that Utah County is 15 years behind, and also the fact that our UTA funding did not, it didn't come through this year either. I should have sent this letter to you guys earlier, like it was something I was like thinking of today, that maybe you should look at this letter, see if there's things from that, because there's a lot of sources that are cited in it. And it's not necessarily a comparison on any other county, and it did have that wide support by MAG. And so maybe that would be good to kind of use that as a baseline and things that could be incorporated there. It might be something where the mayors of 20 cities have already signed on to this, so it would be more of a joint resolution. It can be like something where we want to incorporate that, but it would also be joining with their voices and the Utah County Commissioners.
One thought that when I was reading through this, something that just gave me concern, and is this, I believe it's paragraph 1, 2, 3, and it says, yet critical regional connections and capacity projects remain unfunded or underfunded. And while I think I know exactly which ones you're talking about, and which would make that a true statement, with what happened last year and or in 2024 with the funding we received, I think this might, the way in which it's worded, people might feel like maybe there was a lack of appreciation for the billions that came. So that was just what I was hoping we could massage out tonight, and maybe it would take more than just this evening to do, but that was really the particular piece that I felt needed to be addressed.
Thank you.
I do think it is nice having this comparison here with, I mean, I think we could compare with others than even Davis or Weber. We could, I don't know how many Washington County has, I don't know. But we have approximately, the estimated population, Utah County, 747,234. Is there another county that we can,
Salt Lake County,
that has that many? I think they have even more. They probably have double, right, or at least, right?
Yeah, it's like the
I don't know.
closest, though.
That's something to, yeah. Anyways, I don't know. That's something that's just on my mind.
I do like the idea, like if we do want to save this for later in the year prior to the next session, we can obviously do much more data, even have like an appendix with comparisons and kind of show it in more detail. I'm totally open to that.
It sounds like there may be a letter already out there, right? Councilmember
Yeah, I
Nolan?
think if you were to do that too, it could be something where you would have the time to be able to get cities on board, work with Mayor Benz, get it in front of MAG, and being able to work it that way. Because I think the more that we can be united regionally, the more powerful we are. Because even when it comes to MAG, despite the fact that the size of Lehi, we still just have one vote. So I think combining the voices together and making sure that I just don't want any kind of pushback, like Councilmember Lockhart is talking about, where they say, well, what about this? And then they ignore everything else, all the points you've made. So I think it needs to be really solid. And I would love to see the comparisons, because I don't think others are doing that. And that was something that was pretty eye-opening to me too, as we dug into it, realizing just how far behind we are in Utah County.
So if we tabled it, Tisha, that's indefinite until someone brings it back. If we postpone it, we give a specificity.
Yeah, I mean, you can table it to a certain date, right?
Okay. Mayor, may I ask a question of staff?
Yeah.
So Brad went home, but maybe you can help me. So with the Pell study that's, I guess it started, or they've got the team or something, my understanding is they're going to make some solid decisions about what roads are needed. How is that's a year-long process? Do you know?
I don't know how long it's called the 55, but I'm not sure how long it takes. I don't know. It goes through a lot of process. They've already started. They went into 2 meetings. One yesterday, or
one yesterday,
one today. But it goes through quite a while, so I don't know.
I don't remember them saying a final date.
So my thought with this, I mean, you're pretty, as far Pony Express Parkway being included in there, I guess, with the discussion we had today, we ought to look at what do we really want to happen with that? Do we want UDOT to take it over and extend it through American Fork and Lehi? I think if we come back with specific asks, we'd have better success. I mean, with funding, I mean, it's a huge process. You've got to have designs and plan. I mean, so I think we need to pin down what exactly we want, and then the pointing the mountain east-west connector. I know there's several different options for that. I can't remember the Pell studies going that far north, but we might want to wait till we're further along in that process to know what that study will support, and then use this resolution to get, make a statement to try to get funding. So
absolutely.
I'm good tabling it.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, is this something that we need to collectively say, hey, we want to direct staff, like, please put time and attention into this, working with, to make sure that we've got, like, to Councilmember Stallings' point, that we've all come together, like, and got everything correct, right? Just, I mean, I think, I'm not sure if we need to formalize it to the extent of, like, asking, staff resources to be put on this, but I would support that. Because I think we have specific asks, and we would obviously need their input. So is that required, or?
I was just saying that would be helpful for us.
Okay.
Helpful to give staff some direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think maybe finding just backwards planning, right? So if, I guess if this was, if we want to put it out October 1st, for example, and have multiple cities signed, everything's done and over with, we've already voted on it. Backwards planning, I think maybe by July, August, we could have our initial draft language, and then we start talking to the other cities and the league. And then it gives a couple months for cities to consider and vote on it. And then hopefully we can have just a final vote and release.
I think the beginning of August would be a good deadline. And that would give us 2 months to, pound the pavement and give other cities time to adopt it.
Remember, we have MAG, right? So MAG's going to give us probably the majority of all information because they already have it. So I think we'll have to definitely use that to our advantage in pulling that information.
When are we saying it would be most efficacious to do something like that? Because I do think October might be good. It's election season again for some of our state officials, so they might be listening more to cities. I don't know.
I would think so, because around that timeline is when they're drafting. I know, like, with other bills, like they start about November, really, like, going out to the communities. So I think before, October, for sure, we would want to have that.
So August 1 would be
August 1 being when staff has completed everything, and then we start socializing it with other cities. Okay, that's great.
So I'll take a motion, and I think we can include item 13 and 14 in that same motion if you would like to.
I can try.
Go ahead.
Okay, I move to table resolution number 2026-07, a resolution of urging additional and equitable transportation funding for Utah County, as well as resolution 2026-08 for the participating municipalities of Northern Utah, urging additional and equitable transportation funding for Utah County until August.
Maybe direct staff to work.
And direct staff.
Yeah, by August 1st or something.
And direct staff to work towards bringing it back to the council August 1st.
Yeah, what meeting?
Around approximately.
It could be the last meeting in July, if you're done early.
Approximately beginning of August. I don't know. When council
with approximately.
Are you okay with that, James?
Yeah. So I have a motion from Councilmember Freeman.
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Newell. Any comments on that motion? Okay, Councilman Harrison.
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Stallings.
Yes.
Councilmember Lockhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Okay, let's circle back to our start of our meeting just real quick. Agenda items, we've covered all the agenda items. Administrative reports, Jason?
Only thing I wanted to tie up the loose end about the meeting on February 24th. Is everyone okay if we were to cancel that meeting? As staff, we felt like we could distribute the items.
So my only concern is that we have a policy of February and September for general plan amendments. And so if we counsel a meeting where people want general plan amendments, I don't want them bumped 6 months. So that's my only concern.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Kim could answer. But my understanding is they just have to file in that period.
Yeah, we don't have
You're
to
talking
meet
about general
on the-
plan.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, as long as the application comes in.
Okay.
Anytime during that month, so it wouldn't affect
When we hear it.
the eligibility, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't even end up hearing it till March or April, probably
Okay.
April realistically.
That was my only concern is I didn't want to bump,
Yeah.
these applicants 6 months.
And I did check, and I think we only had one item that was on that agenda right now, and it was actually one that they weren't in a big hurry. They'd already bumped it off one agenda, so I think we would be fine to not hold that meeting. We can just put the other stuff on the March meeting.
Everybody okay with that?
Is that the week we have a Monday work session? Do we need to cancel that as well? No?
We don't have one
It's the
that.
first,
Okay.
it's the second week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess, Jason, as we head into budget season, can you talk about kind of when that's going to start hitting council meetings? Is it March?
So, we just had the budget calendar go out. I can pull it up. I don't want to tell you wrong. Okay, so we have the retreat half the retreat on the 29th, the other half on the 5th. And then we will have staff goals due on February 20th. And then that will come, budget requests due on the 27th. And then on March 9th and 10th, we will have the presentation of staff goals to the council. So they're setting their goals based on what they hear from you at the budget retreat. So that's where we kind of make sure that we're in alignment there.
So can I ask,
Please.
why are we doing both the 9th and the 10th? If the 9th's a work session and the 10th would be a regular city council meeting?
I think if there's bleed over, we need to continue. It's meant to be a collaborative process. I mean, the mayor does have the responsibility of presenting a preliminary budget, but we do want you guys to feel like you've been included along the way. So when it does get turned over to you, that you can feel comfortable making decisions, making changes. But we're always here to answer questions.
So do we need to work in more time on the 9th for that sort of thing?
I don't think so, but if we can, if you'd like to.
I've never done this before. I have no idea.
I don't. Yeah,
I was just going to
I
say
don't think
Jason's
so.
the guy that knows.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's more than enough time. Yeah, no.
Okay, so we're good canceling the meeting on the 24th. Okay. Anything else, Jason?
No, I'm just trying to, and we can send this out to you if you haven't received it already. You might be copied on this, but, we do have the internal department meetings. We can't have more than 2 of you at those meetings at a time, but we can arm wrestle for it or something. You guys can decide which ones you want to be at. And then,
Can I just say, if you end up not attending a meeting, just let the rest of us know, because I got bumped from one and then found out the person didn't attend, so I was kind of bummed about that. So, yeah.
And I have I don't know when the internal department meetings are, so if you can send me that information.
Yeah. No, we'll send out the schedule, but as a rule, not all of you can come to all of them. We're going to have to share. So,
Jason, can we get? Seems like the departments submit kind of the rationale or something.
Yeah.
Can all the city council have those? Get those?
Yep. Yeah, they put a budget request form together. So not only do they put their numbers, they put their rationale or their reasoning, why they want what they're asking for, what they would do if that request is not funded, possible alternatives, and that's kind of what we contemplate as we look over the budget. So,
and one other question for the Small Business Council. Would we be good to put that on probably early March? I think that gives you enough time.
Marlon had a call today with Minneapolis because they have one. He's talked to another city. What was it? I can't remember. It was another larger city. So he's done a lot of work. I'll ask him and see if Marsh is good, but I would imagine that'd be enough time.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. So I know he's been working on it.
Anything else, Jason?
Not unless there's any other questions for me. We'll get this budget calendar sent out to you. It doesn't have the specific departments, dates, and times. We don't have that put together yet, but yeah.
It's forthcoming.
Yeah.
Teach anything for us? Any reports from the council on committee meetings or anything that's going on out there? Do you want to report on?
Other than, I guess, last night we got a new superintendent for Aspen Peak. So, and I'm very excited that it's Dr. Joel Perkins. He opened Sky Ridge, and I think Sky Ridge is a fantastic high school. You look at the programs and the things that Sky Ridge has compared to other ones, and it's a model. So I think everybody's very excited about having him be the superintendent, and they are continuing to push for the business administrator position. It closes on February 13th. This one, they've expanded to be a much farther reach to, those who are involved in public finance and not necessarily just education, public finance. But so I think they've been getting quite a few applications for that, and they'll probably do the same thing that they did with the superintendent search and have a group of community members and community leaders go through those applications.
Mayor, I also have something. Last night, Councilmember Stallings and I attended a housing discussion. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing the information. I just wanted to put HB 68 on everybody's radar. That's the housing reorganization bill that Representative Roberts is running. He went through and explained the intent is currently all the housing policy is spread out amongst lots of different agencies in the executive branch. This bill brings all of those housing policies under GOEO, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. His rationale for that was they are all about creating economic growth, and they should also be addressing the supply side, right? So demand and supply. Anyway, it was a great meeting. Thanks for sharing it. And I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar if it wasn't already.
Okay.
I'll just say the league meeting yesterday was very interesting. We voted on priorities. We talked about the different bills up, but actually one of the more fruitful parts of that trip was talking to Representative Malloy. I went to a breakfast in the morning, and he happened to be there, and we talked for a bit, and then I joined him on the floor of his election reform bill, and that was very interesting. But I just think it's great to get to know our representatives, and I haven't talked to him in a few months, but I think it goes to show I think we can probably have some more regular, even in our work sessions or in a council meeting, presentations by each lawmaker. It's great if we do it as a group, but even better if we can do it one-on-one, or I guess council on one, and just express what we're trying to accomplish. I think the resolution helps, but talking through other issues and allowing them to ask questions as well.
You're ready to go, aren't you?
Councilmember Stallings.
Sorry. It's really quick. Yeah. So I was at the meeting also with Cal Roberts. I just want to put this on staff's radar and we'll see where it goes. But he has a bill that's not numbered yet where he wants to consolidate all the housing infrastructure financing tools like HDRZ, which is the one we have. And the one thing I brought up to him afterwards was, okay, what are you going to do if you get rid of that and they're still in progress? We have that state committee that oversees it. So we probably have somebody on staff that watches the bill, so that he's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. So we'll see what happens with that bill. But yeah, and the league meeting was great. They didn't even talk about land use bills, but they still had it done. A lot that we have to watch out for. Just other actually fun things. The Hutchings Museum is going to offer Lehi City employees free passes to the museum. So we're working with David Kitchens about how to go about doing that. But that's just a thank you to the city for their help in the funding. And then just we're the Historical Society and the Hutchins Museum are gearing up for America 2050 or anniversary, and they're hoping to display the John Haas Presidential Collection, which was told it's being stored in the basement of the building of the cemetery or something, which is kind of sad. So kind of exciting if we can pull that out and dust it off and get it displayed for our 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So that's all I have.
Okay, I'll say something.
I'm just looking.
It's been a great week. It's been fun having the ledge session start and just reading over a lot of bills, talking to a lot of people. I think we've all been doing it, and being apprised of, on text with different lawmakers, and being able to watch the school board on my phone as I was driving towards it, and they got the superintendent in, and I sat in my car and watched the rest of it. Awesome. There's just been a lot of great things happening in Lehi and in Utah in general, and it's a good, exciting time. So thankful for everyone's work and everyone's involvement. I think we're doing great.
Okay, I would agree. We're busy. I know in the offices here on the city campus, we're busy. I know we're tracking bills and we're getting ready, but the day is coming, so have your phones ready, because the day of calling and needing to call is coming. So be aware that I had a nice talk this morning with Cam Deal about that, and so just be ready as we kind of start to approach these now week by week, and it gets a little bit hotter as the weeks go by. With that, I will, our next meeting again then will be on Thursday, but I'll go ahead and take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Take a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.